Much, Marquis, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all parents and any students who have logged in with us here. My name is Blake Eldridge. I'll be your Dean of Students this year. I am happy to start this process of onboarding, certainly our new families, but welcoming all families and students to campus. I think it's going to be an exciting year. I am proud of the work that the Dean of Students Office has been doing to prepare for this school year. And I think that our students and our student leaders are equally eager to get things rolling. You'll hear a little bit more about that as we progress through the slides today. The agenda for us today will include kind of an overview of the staff in the office and how you can and your students can work with us throughout the school year. A few updates about some student expectations on campus. A little bit more information, kind of high level on the August orientation, arrival and orientation schedule. And then you'll hear a few words from some members of our wellness team, and then we'll talk about some of the schedule for webinars and outreach to come this year, the rest of the summer and this year. And then we'll be able to answer the questions that you post in the chat for us. So our next step here is to make sure that I get to introduce the other members of the Dean of Students Office, and you'll hear more both from Doug and Lindsay as we move forward, but very proud to be working with Doug Davis, our Assistant Dean of Students. Doug, in his work in the Dean of Students Office, really works and focuses on student leadership, advising and guiding the student council and our prefects, but his reach extends throughout the campus, and you can find him both leading, right, and cheering our students in a broad range of their experiences. And we're very excited. Many of you have seen the announcement to have Lindsay Mulhern join the Dean of Students Office as our new Associate Dean of Students. Lindsay has over 20 years experience in boarding schools, many of those in leadership positions. She's been here on campus, most recently the level director of Lower School, and we're really excited to see and work with her to bring her vast knowledge of the boarding school world, but also her specific and particularized approach to supporting students broadly at different grade levels and individually as they are working on achieving their own goals for themselves here on campus and beyond. So again, you'll hear more from both of them as we move forward through through today's webinar. But very proud to be working with them and supporting their initiatives as they support your students as we move forward. Additionally, we round out the Dean of Students Office roster with our level directors and our Director of Student Life. Every level, that's second form is the lower level, Circle and Crescent as individual levels, and then back together in fifth form has a level director. These operate kind of similarly to class deans with some additional responsibilities. This year's second form level director is Tim Cross. Tim was recently a head of house in the Raymond House, one of the lower school houses, is a college counselor, and again came to Lawrenceville a few years ago, having been a head of house at another excellent boarding school up in New England, and before that was in college admissions at one of our very good New England liberal arts colleges. Johnny Clore and Katie O'Malley return as level directors in the Circle and the Crescent, and Etienne Bilodeau once again will lead the fifth form through their celebrations, entry into the campus, back in the campus this year, their ascension to leadership positions, their various opportunities and leadership roles as they go through this academic year, and then the celebrations of commencement, prom and commencement at the end. So we're really excited to have this group focusing on the students at the individual levels. And then Ian August is again returning as our Director of Student Life. Ian works with all students and student groups to help organize, schedule, and facilitate social and entertainment events here on campus. He's a fantastic resource for students and faculty and parents alike, and he does an excellent job in his role as Director of Student Life. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay to talk a little bit more about how you and your students will connect with and work with the Dean of Students Office this year.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on here in this early part of the afternoon to talk about the transition of us welcoming your children to our campus. There will be several groups that your children will interact with when they first arrive on campus and throughout the academic year. The first will be the prefects. These are selected seniors, otherwise known as fifth formers on our campus, that go through a pretty rigorous process to land in these very prestigious leadership roles in our houses. These individuals act as role models, also help your children to acclimate from really a student perspective, and many of our prefects end up becoming really good friends with the students that they are helping to guide in the houses. The next individual that will be really important to your child's transition to Lawrenceville is their advisor. This is a faculty member that is assigned to them. This individual typically does duty in their house, so they will see that individual on a weekly basis. We'll talk a little bit more later in the presentation about the role of the advisor. The next is the head of house and assistant head of house. You will be in daily communication with these individuals. Many of our heads of house send out newsletters or daily emails giving you some information about what's happening in the house, different events in the house. There will also be opportunities for some parent involvement in houses, which you will hear about as well. The heads of house are the faculty who are residing in the building with your children. They're going to organize all of the activities, run the duty teams, and really shape the culture of the house that your child is in. And finally, level directors. Level directors are the faculty on campus who oversee the specific point that your child is at Lawrenceville. Level directors are important for you to communicate with in case you have absences that are coming up. I think in particular, as we move into September, about potential absences because of sports requirements. I think if we have parents on here of squash players or hockey players, I know September is usually a big tournament time. So you're going to want to make sure that you're communicating with the level directors early about your child's absences. Looking forward to meeting all of you in the coming weeks.
Excellent. Thank you, Lindsay. And just so we're abundantly clear, these layers are layers of support. These are not obstacles or barriers to your reaching out directly to me or anyone in the Dean Students Office, but just giving you a sense of the number of contact points, both vertical and horizontal, in your child's experience here. We also have a couple of updates from the work from the summer. You'll hear a little bit more just about our dress code policy update, and later as we start the school year, when we have access to the student handbook, you'll see that we have updated some policy language for clarity, but we haven't made significant changes to our overall expectations or policies or procedures. We will have printed community resources for the students at the beginning of the school year, both a community book, which allows us to take a campus community of over 1,200 adults and students and make it feel a little smaller by collecting all the pictures and the names and the various departments together. So that a resource for all of us to begin the process of getting to know each other and working in this shared space. And we will have printed copies of the student handbook for students. And again, once again, the student handbook will be online for you parents in PDF form. That'll be in the Veracross parent portal. And we're finalizing the copy editing, and you should have that in early August, and there'll be a notification when that's available with some instructions for where to find it. It should be obvious with a hyperlink in the parent portal. Other summer work, and we're really excited about these first two bullets. A multi-departmental team has been focusing on revamping our orientation experience. So you'll hear a little bit more about that from Doug later. And Lindsay and the level directors have been really digging into the advisory curriculum and coordinating some specific apps and external resources, but making sure that we're focusing on building the relationships between advisors and students. So it's some interesting, and we think some really productive steps are going to be taken in those fields. Additionally, we are moving away from an in-house software. We used to call it Sentinel. Students will remember, returning students will remember Sentinel. And we're adopting a program called Reach for our student location management protocols and applications here. And I think Lindsay's going to share a little bit more with you about Reach, because I think Reach is going to help simplify and clarify a lot of steps in the process of requesting time away from campus. So Lindsay, can you lead us through some info on Reach, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited to be rolling out the REACH program. This is a student management system that is going to become all an online process. If you are a returning parent or a past parent, you may recall that you were sending a lot of emails reminding your child to swing by the Dean of Students office to grab a yellow form. Then the student was trying to track down every adult in their life to get permission to miss classes. What REACH is doing is allowing all of those touch points to happen electronically. And as a parent, you will receive an email to give the final permission for your child to leave campus. I had a child at another boarding school that used this system, and I can attest it was really simple and great to receive that notification with them requesting permission to go to so-and-so's house for the weekend. So we're really excited to roll this out. We'll be sending out a lot of information this summer about how the system works, having our incoming and returning students downloading the REACH app, which again, we all know they love their phones. To be able to do all of this on their phone will make everybody's life easier. And hopefully you will feel like it is a more streamlined process. And just as a side note, we still do require a 2-week notice if your children are going to be missing classes. So again, for those sports parents out there that know that they've got some tournaments coming up, please feel free to reach out to us even now until we get REACH going out to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Lindsay. And I also have some experience with Reach as a parent at a different boarding school. And again, the amount of paperwork that it saves and email traffic is extraordinary. So we think it's going to create some efficiencies. We still are going to retain that human element. So students will be talking directly with their teachers about their missing class, because that's going to be an important conversation for how to navigate and address any work that needs to be made up or how to adjust their schedule accordingly. But the interaction between parents and level directors and heads of house is really going to be simplified here. We've also this summer we've had a group of faculty and students reviewing the developments and possible responsible uses of artificial intelligence in our Harkness-centered community. Clearly, there are interesting advances happening continuously in the field. We read almost every day about some new development or some advance in specificity and precision. In our community, we are focusing on our Harkness learning paradigm. And so we remain focused on interpersonal discussion, face-to-face, the skill of close reading, and reflection as the collection of the best means to develop a student's independent judgment. And whatever role AI should play or can play with us, AI should never replace student learning. And so that's kind of the context in which we are working. In certain courses, AI may be permitted, but will be explicitly approved by the instructor with guidelines and parameters for use. And really, we are focusing on responsible use, ways that will supplement or augment student learning without replacing it. The default position, however, in our community is that AI use will be prohibited unless, again, explicitly permitted by the faculty member for the assignment or in the classwork, and academic and disciplinary penalties will still apply. Additionally, we are re-emphasizing our student dress code. We'll get to the next slide here momentarily. There it is. So those of you who are returning will see that this looks very familiar, as has been printed and adhered to in the past. A couple of modifications here or adjustments. We retain the broad kind of contours of this program's our code. So, and this is focusing on during the academic day. So during the academic day, collared shirts and blouses and plain non-graphic t-shirts, turtlenecks. We have still seen a few turtlenecks from time to time, and sweaters are permitted as classroom dress. And again, clothing which advertises tobacco and weapons or drug products or contains inappropriate or vulgar messages. One additional element this year, one of the two kind of clarifying elements here, is that the tops of your shirts must meet, the bottoms of your shirts must meet the tops of your pants and skirts. And additionally, you'll see in bold here that sweatpants and sweatpant material and pajama pants do not satisfy our dress code standards. Everything else remains pretty much the same. And so as you're doing your back to school shopping, let this be the guide for you that for the academic day, including meals during the academic day, this is our collection of expectations for all of our students. And again, we'll also remind students that hats and caps need to be removed in the chapel and the academic buildings, the KAC, the library, and the dining facilities. The formal dress has that policy remains the same, and so that will be available to you in the handbook, but no significant changes outside of these two clarifications here. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about fall of 2023 and what you can expect. And this is when we can bring in Dean Davis to lead us through these next couple slides here.
Right. Good afternoon to you all. So this fall and beyond, excuse me, the academic year, this fall and beyond, we will be training all of our new faculty and our current faculty. We want to continue to think about our community as an inclusive community, and we believe that a lot of the training starts with our houses. So with our heads of house, with our assistant heads of house, and with our new faculty and returning faculty. We recognize that the campus, well, it has not changed much, and I'm thinking of everything but Psi at this point, because we do have Psi Commons and the field house has been built. But we recognize that our students are changing constantly, right? And they're evolving. We want to make sure that the training that we have for our faculty, we want to make sure the training that we have for our heads of house and our assistant heads of house, as well as our prefects and student council, and I'll get into the student council a little bit later, that those trainings align with the needs of our students. We also want to make sure that an emphasis is placed on community building and engaging our students, the growth of our students outside of the classroom, right? So we want to place an emphasis, especially when thinking about orientation, on a three-letter word that I absolutely love, fun, right? So F-U-N, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, right? We want to make sure that we're providing time for our students to be kids, right? We recognize that there is a lot of demand placed on our students during the academic year, but we also want to make sure that our students have time to be second formers, third form, fifth form, and even postgraduates at this time. We recognize there are a lot of stresses that come with it, but want to make sure that they're finding time to meet with counseling if they can, finding the resources that they that are here and that can help them through Lawrenceville. But I think more importantly, making sure that they can find their people, right, and that their friends and the groups of people that will help them when they rethink about their time here at Lawrenceville. The friends that will be here beyond graduation. So we want to make sure that we're providing time for them in and outside the classroom for that. And I'll pass it off to Lindsay, I believe.
Yes, so Blake mentioned earlier about our focus on the development of our residential curriculum and wanted to point out that our new students go through, or our second and third form students go through our personal development seminar, which is our social emotional learning seminar as they adjust to their time at Lawrenceville. We also have a more robust curriculum that we use within our house system, focusing on our advisor program, which will happen during our Monday meetings and during our lunch meetings, as well as some programming that might happen to the larger community through a potential speaker series or individual houses wanting to focus on a particular topic, but it's something that we've spent a lot of time on. I can say that for our second formers, we've actually expanded it even more to focus on executive functioning this fall, as well as providing library and technology skills in the same block that they would have their PDS course. So this will be a new program for us that we feel is really needed as we are watching our children come out of the pandemic and not quite having the executive functioning skills we feel like they need to be successful at Lawrenceville. We also are partnering with two outside vendors. One is Wayfinder, which is a social emotional learning database that we use, and the Social Institute, which focuses on social media. This is an organization that we are really excited about, founded by a Duke University field hockey player. And it's very cutting edge, really kind of connecting our students in a way that we feel like they really will benefit from and get a lot of good tools from. And it's very current and up to date on topics that are happening now, and really noticing through their research how our young people are connecting over their phones and social media and their overall habits. So these are some of the programs that we'll be focusing on this fall and extending into the winter as well.
Okay, so student council, STUCO for short. These are 10 members of the senior class who I'll work with closely throughout the academic year. All right, and so these are 10 members of the senior class who have been selected or elected by the student body to represent the community's efforts in these areas. So we'll start with our president, right? And then we'll move to our VP of academics, VP of honor, VP of social life, and then our athletics rep, sustainability rep, diversity, community service, arts, and our wellness rep, which is the first time that we were able to really put this position into student council. Before this year, we always had 9 members of student council, and now we have 10 with that wellness rep. And so our students were really adamant about this position within the last few years, especially after COVID. We recognize that wellness, mental health is on the forefront of our students' minds. And they came to us, I would say, over the last few years, and they said that we really need a wellness rep on student council. We feel that we need representation in this area. And it really showed that our students do have agency, right? And so we do have this wellness rep. It rounds out our 10 student council members. And I've worked with student council this summer, and we've met twice already. And in our first meeting, student council is really excited about the role that they'll be playing in their 5th form year, and they want to come up with a theme. And so the theme for our student council this year and for our community is redefining our lasting legacy. So we shortened it to ROLL, that's the acronym. So let's roll. You'll also hear stop, drop, and roll. So if you are on the phone with your student, or if you are Zooming, or if you're meeting with them and they're talking about stop, drop, and roll, do not jump to conclusions or think that it's a fire or anything. Just know that it's student council and its student council really, thinking about and shaping the culture of campus. So really excited about working with this group, and this group is really excited about working with the entire student body.
Excellent. Thank you, Doug and Lindsay. And just the number of meetings that I've had in correspondence with student council members, they are eager, and they're clearly an exceptional group, and they're thinking, in really incredible ways, and specific ways, about how to support student life and individual students on campus. So now we're going to bring it down to the more specific elements for your arrivals to campus and some of the late summer details. So campus arrival, some of you remember the last time I was on one of these webinars was a number of years ago, and we were talking about sign up geniuses and the car lines and the testing tents, and all of the various protocols that we needed to follow in order to make sure we could open campus safely during COVID. This year, it's going to be much simpler than the last time we talked together, and I think we're all very thankful for that. But we will have 3 different arrival dates for registration, 3 main arrival dates. The first will be for invited preseason students. These are varsity athletics candidates, as well as theater invitees and various student leadership groups. That will be followed by the second form, all remaining second formers who were not invited to preseason for athletics have a designated arrival and registration day, and then that will be followed very closely the following day by all remaining upper form students. When you arrive to campus on your appointed registration day, all students must start that process by visiting the Kirby Arts Center. All students will check in first in the KAC when they arrive to campus. We will confirm that all medical forms, as well as other kind of school business forms have been completed. From the KAC, or at the KAC, they will be given a pass, which they will carry with them to their house to begin the check-in process in their own house for boarding students. If you arrive at your house and you do not have the pass from the KAC, your head of house will direct you to the KAC. You will not be permitted to take any further steps for the move-in process until you have visited the KAC first. Once you arrive to the house, boarding students, you'll be given your fob and your student ID. We call them a fob, as well as your room salto, which is the electronic door lock or key for your individual room. When you are planning your arrival, do check the back to school list in Veracross for all. It's helpful for all students, but specifically for boarding students, for what to bring and include in their room and their packing. And on each one of these days, whether you're arriving for preseason or as a second form parent or as a 3rd through 5th form parent, we will have specific programming for both students and parents on each registration day. So those of you who are arriving for preseason, do not feel that you need to come back for the appropriate second form or 3rd through 5th form registration day. The programming will be the same. Right? You're certainly not prohibited from returning if you'd like to come and go through the evening or afternoon presentations again. But each one of these days will operate on the same schedule, and so you won't be missing anything if you are arriving for preseason. There'll be an opportunity for parents to meet with heads of house and advisors. We do expect the advisors, unless they're working for preseason athletics, to be available for everyone at those times. And you'll have a chance to also connect with the leadership of the Parents at Lawrenceville Parent Committee, as well as hear from our head of school and various school leaders. And more information about each of these arrival days will be coming in time in an email with detailed locations for both parking and campus entry. The registration day starts at 9 a.m. Students should be present on campus, and everyone should check in by 1 o'clock. We do kind of encourage our day students to come later in the morning, just not because we have a specific time for day student check-in, but just helps ease the flow as the boarding students need to get on campus. But between 9 and 1, students and families should expect to arrive and be well on their way for the move-in and the orientation process. A little bit more information to come here for student rooms, and I'll leave this for Lindsay to talk about before I pick up some shipping and mailing info.
Yeah, so this is the nitty-gritty of student rooms for our boarding families. All beds have headboards and footboards. Students do like to have the clamp lamps next to their head typically at night. That's something to think about. Some choose to put risers under their legs of their bed for more storage. I would suggest that for sure. Many have small rugs. It's good to note when you're picking out your sheets that the mattresses are twin XLs. All windows have shades in the individual rooms, which is great. You can bring some curtains, but make sure that you are not using anything that would require drilling into the wall. There are no lofts allowed in our dorm rooms except the few rooms that have them installed by the school. Every room has a closet or a wardrobe. If your child is in a double, there will be 2. We also provide a desk chair, and a dresser in each room. Furniture must remain. You can bring some personal things in. Students will bring, particularly when I think about in the girls' rooms, they usually bring their own mirrors, some additional storage, a lot of things on wheels, maybe something for next to the bed. But I wouldn't overdo it because the rooms aren't incredibly large. All appliance and extension cords must be UL rated and surge protected. And we will come around and do an inspection of the students' rooms once they are here to make sure that they are fire compliant.
Excellent, thank you. Some of the families who come from a little farther away have found it is convenient to mail some items to campus. And so if you're choosing to do so, we ask that you use this format for the address. Please put your student's name at the top, and then use the Lawrenceville School, identify as the student center. In the box here, please include your student's house name and their mailbox number. The mailbox number will be available in Veracross after August 7th, and the housing information will be released to new students on August 17th. But as you're preparing and thinking about what to ship and considering that option for your student, this is the format that we're going to ask you to use. We're going to mail out and share this slide deck information with you as well. So no need to take a picture of this right now while it's on your screen, or write it down. You'll have this information. But having the house name and the unit number is going to be very helpful for us as our excellent mailroom staff begins to receive and then sort everything for ease of student pickup for their individual items. Larger items, again, may require a different separate handling fee from the transport companies. And please do know that students with their family, when you're on campus or by themselves, will be expected to pick up their items from the mail facility. We don't have capacity to make deliveries to student houses of their mailed items. All right, but the mailroom will be open for students on their scheduled arrival day. Now, that's what it will take to get here. Once they are here, we are going to talk a little bit more about the orientation. So from the getting here to the being here, Doug, I think, is going to lead us through some expectations here for orientation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Blake. So we have our orientation committee's been working on this orientation schedule for a while now, for the last few months, and even into the summer, taking some time out of our summers to create a schedule that fits the needs of our students and our faculty this fall. So we'll start with August 29th and August 30th, as Blake mentioned. The August 29th date is when our second form will arrive. You'll have that window between 9 and 1 to get to campus and get situated. We'll have our heads of house and assistant heads of house and duty teams there to welcome you and assist with the moving of your second formers to campus. After move-in, our second formers, as I mentioned earlier, we're putting an emphasis on community building and fun. We'll have some activities for our second formers that will last well into the night, right? And so one of our emphasis, or one of the things that we wanted to put an emphasis on with orientation is being consistent, right? Thinking about when we start our days and when we end our days. So we'll start our days at 9 and we'll end roughly around 9:30, except for on the weekends, and we'll get into that with September 1st and 2nd. So August 3rd is when our 3rd through 5th form, and I should have put 3rd through postgraduates, arrive to campus. So that's 9 through 1 p.m. as well. Our second form will be out doing what our second form does, right? And enjoying their time together. And our 3rd through 5th formers will be moving in. New 3rd and new 5th formers will be meeting their heads of house, assistant heads of house, and their duty teams, advisors as well, and also the other members of their class. And then after move-in, our 3rd through 5th or postgraduates will also be engaged in level-specific time with their level directors and meeting people who will, as I mentioned earlier, will be incredible resources throughout the year. August 31st and September 1st is probably the biggest shift that we made through orientation. Really consists of us really putting in the academic schedule or some type of academic rotation that gets our students familiar with being in the classes, right? We didn't want the next week or the first week of classes have our students, especially our new students, running around and try to figure out who their teachers are, what classes they're meeting with, and who's in their class. I think that's really a thing that promotes anxiety within our kids is recognizing who they're going to be in class with, right? And so we wanted to give them a little taste of what the academic schedule looks like. So on August 31st, the day will start at 9, and we'll be going with a meeting. We'll start with our school meeting, and then we will jump right into our classes at 10, roughly 10 to 2. So August 31st, we'll go A period, B, and C period. And then September 1st, we'll do D, E, F, sticking with the same timing, 10 to 2. And then after that, we will jump into more level specific meetings and fun, right? September 2nd is probably the day that all of our students are looking forward to, especially our returners. It's our spirit day, right? So we're thinking about House Olympics and Bowl Cup for our new second formers. So it's a very colorful day, hopefully. It's a day filled with fun. If you have a child who's on an athletic team who's been here since preseason, you may have some scrimmages on that day. So it's a very fun day, and we're giving our students some space to actually, as I mentioned earlier, be kids, right? And to float around. So a lot of time and effort went into Spirit Day. And this is one of the days that's probably longer for our boarders and especially our day students. So we're thinking about, a later return home for our day students, right? So we're thinking maybe 10, 10:30, depending on the form. Right, and then September 3rd is when we're trying to shift from having the fun to actually more academic and getting into convocation, a message from our head of school, Steve Murray, and that will just launch us into the academic year that Monday. So really looking forward to it. You'll get more specifics as to the hours, the hour by hour, and what's happening with our students, or where you'll be able to find your student during the day. But this is just a general framework for what those days will look like during orientation. And as I said, more to come from our office.
Okay, so rounding out our Dean of Students section is a moment on our advisory. We talked about it earlier in the presentation, but every student at Lawrenceville is assigned an advisor. For parents, this is that your kind of go-to person when you have questions just regarding their life, how they're doing, how are their classes, are they connecting with people? You know, I think as parents, we get that kind of spidey sense when we're on that FaceTime that maybe something isn't right. The advisor is the person that you want to reach out to. Every advisor on campus has a group ranging from about 5 students to maybe 8 students. This group will be together all year. Advisory meets on Mondays in the morning and on Thursdays for lunch. Many of our advisory groups do things outside of those times, whether we have them to our homes for dinner or we go out to dinner. It really becomes a good little community in each advisory group. And most of our advisors do one night a week duty in their house. So for our boarding students, you will see your advisor in the evening, and it's a great time to just catch up and check in terms of making sure that their kind of study skills and their evening study hall habits are where we want them to be. And it's just great kind of downtime as well. So when you are here on campus, you'll have a chance to meet with your advisor. In fact, you may have an opportunity to Zoom with them before you arrive to campus, but know that this is a person that you're going to want to make sure you have all of their contact information. And we're looking forward to seeing you all soon.
Excellent. Thank you, Doug and Lindsay, for all of your great work, and you're sharing that with all of us here today. There are a number of questions coming into the chat right now, and we will take some time in a few minutes to answer those. But before we do that, I think Marquis has some remarks for us just about the wellness team, and we'll have a chance to hear from a couple of other people that we're going to be working with and learning from in the coming years.
Yes, thank you very much. And just to underscore the point, we are tracking all the good questions coming in, and then at the end, Blake, I'll work with you to share those good questions coming in so we answer every last one of them. So we are excited for the work of the wellness team that will take place this year, and we've already heard from Dean Elbridge. I invite Dr. Ray Crestfield and Dr. Chris Virginia to unmute your screens, give a nice welcome hello, and we'll take over from there. Why don't we start with Dr. Crestfield?
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to serve in the inaugural role of Dean of Campus Wellbeing.
And thank you, Dr. Crestfield and Dr. Jillian.
Hi, greetings, everyone. Again, my name is Chris Rangillian. I'm joining Lawrenceville as the medical director this year. My team is going to include our nursing, counseling, and athletic training staff. I'm coming to Lawrenceville from the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine and Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, not too far away. My background, I'm a pediatrician. I specialize in adolescent medicine and sports medicine. My clinical and educational work has been centered on a strength-based approach to youth development. And I'm really excited to bring that work to the Lawrenceville community and getting to meet your young person.
And thank you both very much. We're so excited to have you join our community. Can we advance to the next slide, please? Thank you. So as we announced this year with the wellness team, we will host a specific webinar for parents in September, just to hear from the wellness team around our work for the year. But just to do a quick recap of some of our priorities for the year, we'll think about our work through sort of 3 different areas. Number 1, creating a campus environment that prioritizes students' social and emotional health. We'll continue, and what you heard today is around residential life and thinking about the lens of culture, inclusion, and care. And most importantly, ensuring that we are going to continue to provide leadership and support for all of our student organizations to promote a sense of well-being and health and wellness. So that was just a quick snapshot. But again, as we start the school year, you'll hear more information and receive a direct email from me inviting to our wellness team webinar in September. So thank you for that, and I'll hand it back off to you, Blake.
Thank you, Marquis, and welcome to Doctors Crestfield and Vangelian. I've had a chance to work and start to get to know both of them this summer, and I, for one, am very excited, and I know that their guidance and insights have already been valuable for our work here in getting us started. We have a couple other very brief announcements in the next slide, please. Forward one more. There it is. So just a note about future outreach webinars for the parent community. You should expect house Zoom calls with heads of houses. For some of the returning families with new heads of house, you may have a very brief introduction, sometime early in August, and then for all of the houses after the release of the housing assignments, so around August 18th or so. There will also be a Parents at Lawrenceville series of both webinars and in-person meetings. I'm very excited for what Silmarie Trowbridge and Jenny Sung are doing with Parents at Lawrenceville, and if you haven't had a chance to connect with them yet, I hope that you will. They will be present at the registration days, and you'll be hearing a lot more from them. They're fantastic resources, not only for parents and families, but also for the Dean of Students Office, and we have very good working relationships, and so open lines of communication, and they have a number of important messages that they want to share with all of you, and so be on the lookout for information about opportunities to connect with them. And then just a couple of other notes about speakers, and we're going to also have some lunch and learns meetings opportunities for families. One for you, certainly for the older students. Dr. Joe Savino from the University of Pennsylvania will be coming in early October. There'll be more information about the specifics to give share some data-driven information and recommendations for applying to med school. Many in our community, students and parents, will find this to be interesting and enlightening. And Dr. Savino is a nationally recognized figure and does a lot of work to inform potential med school applicants about what to expect, what med schools are looking for. So we think this will be kind of an interesting opportunity for us to come together and learn a little bit more about life after Lawrenceville and opportunities, as well as also we will have a series of parent-focused webinars on parenting and adolescent development. I believe our first is going to be with the JED Foundation's Dr. Ellen Utley, fantastic doctor and researcher and partner with the school, and we'll have a series of these as we kind of run through the academic year. So just some things for you to think about and some things to plan on for our future outreach. At this point, we're going to turn to the questions that are coming in, and happy to work with Marquis and others to make sure that we answer as many of them as we can.
All right.
And so, how have you seen some themes developing, Marquis, or some?
I have some themes.
All right.
And why don't we have Doug and Lindsay? Why don't we unmute your screens and join the conversation?
Please join.
So the question around dress code, are hoodies and sweatshirts okay? And there's a question around rug sizes for the rooms.
So rug size, I would say about a 3 to 5. Rug would probably be good. I will say that they like fluffy, cushy rugs. I would not suggest white, although a lot of the girls like white, I will say. But 3 to 5 is probably pretty good in terms of hoodies. Yes, hoodies are allowed over their required shirt. Am I correct to say that, Dean Eldridge?
You are correct, especially Lawrenceville hoodies and Philadelphia Phillies gear. All right.
And Eagles, don't forget.
We'll take
We're in training camp.
That's right.
Sorry, Lindsay, can you talk about the size of window for ordering curtains?
I don't have the exact measurement on the size of the windows because they vary in different houses. You probably go with a standard panel, I would think, not an extra large. Let me see if I can find some specifics.
Great. And then we have another question around, are athletic pants made of nylon and polyester acceptable during the academic day?
No, the
No.
athleisure wear, those are excluded per our kind of sweatpant material portion of our dress code. Good question, though. Good question.
Can you please provide details for orientation week for day students, drop off and pickup time?
Yeah, so drop off, the day starts at 9 o'clock. So I'll have our students on campus. If you want breakfast, we'll have breakfast from usually around 8 to 8:50 on that day. So if you do want breakfast, I would get here between 8 to 8:50. But our school meetings will start at 9 o'clock. And as I mentioned earlier, the day will go depending on the day. So that Friday and Saturday, 31st and the 1st of September, will go a little bit later, right? So if you're a day student, if you're a second former, I would be prepared for pickup around 10 o'clock on those days, all right? And any day before, so 27th, 28th, and 29th, we're gonna try to have everything done by 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock, and then on those weekends, Friday and Saturday, I would just give a little bit, an hour or so for that time difference in pickup.
Thank you. We have a question around, do second forms receive their red card at registration?
Yes,
Yes.
on registration day, they will receive them from their head of house once they have completed their initial check-in responsibilities and process at the Kirby Art Center.
And two questions here. One is, what is the height and bed off the floor, and are leggings acceptable for girls?
Leggings are acceptable, yes.
And the height of the bed off the floor?
I don't have it in inches. It's a pretty standard height. That's why the students like to have those 5-inch risers underneath the bed legs.
Great. Do students need to bring their own vacuum cleaner for the room?
No.
No.
Some have little hand ones, I will say that, but we do have full-size vacuums in the house. And our head of house from Kirby, Mary Calvert, must be on because she just sent me the window dimensions for the Kirby house, which I imagine are similar for all of the Crescent homes. 37.5 to 38 inches wide, 66 inches high. The double windows are 73.5 to 74 inches wide and 66 inches high.
Great, thank you. Does Lawrenceville offer storage between terms?
Students do not need to move out between terms, between the fall and the winter term and the winter and the spring term. Over the summer, we do work with Boren's Moving and Storage, an off-campus partner, for climate-controlled summer storage for any items that they do not want to bring home with them or they know that they will need the following year. More information about the storage program will come out in the spring term as we get closer. And those of you who are returning, who have used Boren's, your items will be returned to campus in advance of your arrival for registration days.
Great, thank you. Do students commonly use full-size monitors at their desk in their dorm room?
Yes, they do. And TVs that they log into for their video games and their movie viewing. Some have multiple monitors.
Thank you for that. Great question. So a couple of questions around housing assignments, when they come out. For second and for third formers specifically.
Housing assignments will be released on August 17th. And if your student will have a roommate, you will know that likely in advance of the arrival to campus, but not on the 17th or 18th.
Great. There's a few questions emerging around athletics. Jess, I think you're on. Do we have that video available online for parents? And we can certainly contact Dean Wellborn after this. Are you still there? She's not there. Okay.
Yes, it's on the parent portal.
Okay, it's on the parent portal. Great. So there was an athletic webinar a few weeks ago around the preseason tryouts, all details. So please check the parent portal and all the good questions coming in. I will certainly forward to Dean Wellborn. So the question on parking, where should we park? And is there additional help student help for unloading?
I'm assuming this is for registration days.
Yes.
And so again, we'll send out more information with a campus map. Many families choose to drive directly to and park at the Kirby Art Center to start their registration process, and then from there navigate the internal campus roads, and you will be able to park directly adjacent to your house for move-in. Typically, there is, prefects and sometimes the football players help with lower school move-in. But most of the time, families are responsible for carrying in their own items during the move-in process. But you will be able to park adjacent to the house.
If we order something through Amazon, can you use the student center address in the presentation? Where can students pick up their packages?
Great question. Yes, please use that address format, and students will be able to pick up any items mailed to them from our mail facility in the Sci Commons, right below our side dining facility.
Is convocation primarily for students, and do families receive an opportunity to participate?
Good question. Go ahead, Doug.
Convocation is for our students. So that's something that our students will participate in. By that point, our families have left campus.
If you're on campus and don't mind standing in the background, you are welcome to listen as well, but it's not a formal invitation for the families.
There's a question about Saturday classes. Yes, we will have Saturday classes and throughout the year. There's a question on parents engaging with PL. So we would email Jennifer Sung and Phil Marie Trowbridge, or you can email parents@lawrenceville.org if you're interested in engaging more with the parents at Lawrenceville, or you can email Blake or me and we can happily direct you to the right place.
Mm-hmm.
When will students get to choose their electives?
So the academics choices and schedules are being worked on by our registrar. And so student course selections, at least requests, should have been submitted. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, I think
yeah. So those should have been submitted. I thought she was ready to take that question. So those should have been submitted. He is the registrar, Mr. Frank Hernandez, is working hard to collate all those requests and begin building out schedules. So the student schedules will be available in the coming weeks that will allow them to begin the process of purchasing required books. If there are then questions about placements or elective opportunities, you will be able to work through the registrar or the dean's office.
Great, thank you. A couple of questions about the dress code. As far as the dress code, what about shoes? Sneakers okay? What is recommended as far as the dress codes? Do they need? Oh,
excellent. Okay, great. Yes, so formal dress, there is what's typical are suit pants and suit jackets, or dresses and skirts and tops of a more dressier kind of a dressier style. And so students have a range of options. Many choose to wear suits, some choose to wear slacks and sport coats, many choose to wear dresses, and some choose to wear skirts with a blouse or a sweater, and then dress shoes that complement the clothing ensemble. During the regular school day, the academic day, students are expected to wear shoes, but flip-flops, sneakers, sandals, anything that the students are comfortable with, as long as the soles are protected. There's no expectation for closed-toed shoes. And yes, sweatpants are not permitted during the school day. This is for all teams and all students.
Great, thank you. So a question about day students. If they're going to be on campus for approximately 10 hours, do they need to bring anything? Will they store their bags, et cetera? What guidance do you have around that?
Excellent, excellent. So I like to joke that it's impossible typically at Lawrenceville to tell the difference between a day student and boarder until you see where they do their laundry. Really, as you walk around campus, you can't tell the difference. So day students are each given a locker in their house and have day student rooms dedicated to them where they can drop all of the things that they're going to need for the day, sometimes the week. Sometimes students bring things that leave them for the entire year. But they have rooms in each of their houses dedicated to day students where the day students can put their books in between classes, put their athletic gear that they may take back and forth with them, anything else that they think is going to be important for them to have on campus, for them for the day, for the week, for the term, and they can just bring those in and drop them in their day student rooms and lockers in their houses.
Do the dorms have ACs or fans?
Yes, the bedrooms in the houses are all air conditioned. Some are on the central system and some have individual window and floor units, but all rooms have air conditioning.
So can our girls wear Lululemon / athletic wear, shorts, skirts, tops to class?
I'm not familiar with brands, but I can say that leggings are permitted, and we expect shorts to be tailored and skirts to be tailored, and for them to cover and reach down an appropriate length.
Great, thank you. And I think you discussed this earlier, but just a reminder, when do students learn if they have a single or a roommate?
That'll be information will be coming from the head of house closer to arrival to campus. Unless you are a returning student and have already selected your room with a roommate.
Great, thank you. And how do you load the big red car with additional money, the process for doing that?
We'll have assistance during registration days in the KAC to walk you through that process if you're having trouble doing so remotely.
There's a couple.
Go ahead.
Great. And there's a couple of questions around orientation for parents. In the next week or so, maybe a week, we'll have a detailed email with you with regards to dates and times and when the dates end for students and parents. So more to come on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so there's a question around parents' weekend that coincide with long weekends. How do those work? The planning schedules? Do parents go to school and do students go home with them? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We only close campus at the end of term. And so parents' weekend, winter gathering, we do use those as opportunities for extended weekends. Students are permitted to depart campus, but they're not required to. So parents' weekend in October, we'll have the ensuing days off after the weekend. Students are welcome to remain here on campus. They can also depart with family or to another approved and parent chaperone location.
Great, thank you. And will parents have an opportunity to meet advisors on registration day?
That is our expectation, yes.
Great. So there's an academic question here around, we received the placement for math, but not for languages yet. When will we receive that information? So this is probably a Dean Teely.
Yep, academic dean
Yeah.
and our registrar will be able to answer those questions for you specifically.
Great, thank you. When will we know our student advisor name?
That information will be uploaded and available around the time of house placements announcements.
Oh, are students expected to be in dress code for open orientation days, or can they wear athletic wear given outside activities?
Could you repeat that for me?
Are students expected to be in dress code for open orientation days, or can they wear athletic wear given outside activities?
Absolutely. We want them to be comfortable and active. There's going to be everything from running and jumping, certainly during House Olympics, but making sure that they're comfortable on those days is important. We want them to be focusing on relationship building on those times. And a lot of those activities will take place outside.
Are khakis and blue blazers considered formal wear, or do the boys need formal slacks?
Khakis are just fine.
Great, thank you. So we encourage the students to bring their laptops on registration days. IT will be available to connect them. So please bring your technology, whether it be a laptop, mobile device, et cetera, and we'll make sure we connect them accordingly. So I was wondering if Lawrenceville is working on college boxes in the future, as Bourne's is significantly more expensive for storage and shipping. Any thoughts around it?
At this point, we're happy with the partnership that we have with Bourne's and happy to learn more about your reasons for suggesting another.
Are first year students allowed TVs? I did read that they're not allowed fridges.
Correct. Well, at this point, there's no difference between a TV and a computer monitor. So we permit students to have larger monitors to help them with their work. Often easier on the eyes. If the monitor becomes a distraction, then the head of house and advisor will reserve the right to remove the monitor. But you are also correct that refrigerators, only fifth formers are permitted to have refrigerators.
If we would like to bring friends from out of town, let's say Charlotte, for example, how can they be received on campus? Are they permitted to stay in a dorm?
Friends are always welcome to campus. You know, as the host, whoever that student is responsible for that guest's behavior. The specifics around hosting overnight will be that'll be a better conversation with the head of house in discussion about any specific visits.
Great. This might be a day student question, but what is the length of the academic daily day? And if students have sports commitments late in the evening, will they be able to leave and attend those commitments?
The academic day starts typically around 8, sometimes as late as 9 a.m., concludes just after 3 p.m. And as long as the day student has attended all required obligations, they can depart campus to attend any off-campus engagements. If there is a conflict, then there needs to be a discussion with advisor and the deans with request for permission to miss the on-campus required event or meeting.
Great, thank you.
I think I found my favorite question here. Can a student bring a record player and vinyl records? Absolutely, and I can't wait to meet that student because we have a lot to talk about and a lot in common. So score 1 for my favorite question of the day.
And there's a question here, my third, fourth family, which days are our presence as parents required to advise, and when do we have to leave indefinitely? This might be orientation, right?
I'm assuming it's for orientation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Families can stay in the area as long as they wish. Remembering that our students are going to be pretty busy from early morning until late in the evening, and your presence is not required at any point after the registration day, but certainly you're welcome to be around. And if you want to spectate for preseason athletics or House Olympics, you are certainly welcome to stick around and observe the madness.
Thank you for that. And we are a multi-device campus, so whether you have a Mac, PC, iPad, iPod, whatever the case is, it will all connect. So there is no minimum requirement. We just need to have internet if you want internet capability. So if you have any questions around technology, you can email support@lawrenceville.org. Okay, Blake, I think it was a lot of questions. I think it was 48 questions. I think we answered them all. It's now 1:10, and certainly the fun does not end here. I encourage you, if we did not get to your questions, or if you have other questions, please email our Dean of Students office, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you right away. Any final words, Dean Eldridge or Dean Davis?
Doug, would you like to say anything before I close up?
I am really looking forward to getting started in a few weeks. I would just say enjoy the rest of the summer, and once you're arrive on campus, it'll be off and running, and I'm ready to continue this journey with you all.
Excellent. And I will say that I'm also very excited. Every year, Lawrenceville is a brand new school. And I'm excited to see how this year's Lawrenceville School lives up both to the high expectations based upon its success in the past, and can support the goals of our new community members as we go forward. Every year, we continue to have a new crop of extraordinary young people join us. Every year we have the returning students level up in terms of maturity and engagement, and to be working with a number of great colleagues, but really an entire school that is focused on being together and using their individual strengths to support what can be best for all. I'm happy to be in the front row watching all this and supporting it. So as you have other questions, please do not be shy about reaching out to anyone here on this call. If you send a note to deanofstudents@lawrenceville.org, we have a number of us who monitor that account, and we can respond to you quickly. But you are sending us some really extraordinary students, and we thank you for your readiness to do that, and your eagerness to be part of this community. And we are, as I said, very excited about what's to come. So thank you all for your time today and for the coming year.
Have a great day. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.